Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. Starting this one a little bit earlier than we initially scheduled it out. I never know when these games are going to end. Never know if we're going into overtime or if it's going to be chaotic. So we did start about 30 minutes early. So if you are coming on here, just know that we did start the podcast early. We're going to get into our quarter notes. If you're brand new here, what we do is we go over these quarter notes and then we open up the show to any comments and questions for this post game podcast show. So, Monday night, Pistons played their first game of the week against the Atlanta Hawks. Feel like we just played them. I think we have to play them again next week. So, getting to play the Hawks quite a bit. They are a team in the Eastern Conference that is a top six seed in the East right now. And we did not have Duncan Robinson in this one. No Duncan. He sprained his ankle, which I wasn't even aware of. He played through the sprained ankle against Miami. Probably had the adrenaline going. So no Duncan out there. Dennis Jenkins got to start in place of Duncan Robinson. So he had a starting five of Cade Cunningham, Dennis Jenkins, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren. I'm just going to say, you guys, this was probably the ugliest game I've seen by the Pistons this year. It had a very late 90s 2000s vibe. There was a lot of missed shots. There was just a lot of turnovers. Atlanta, at least you could say, hey, they had a back-to-back last night against Philly and they won in double overtime. Like, I could give them the excuse if they did have some tired legs. But the Pistons were coming off a day's rest, and it looked like they played double overtime, and they were on a back-to-back. But this first quarter, there was such bad passing. The Pistons throughout this game just tried to push the pace in transition. And a lot of the passes, it's like if you want to push the pace in transition, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. But like a lot of these passes were just like, I'm gonna try to throw a pass when one guy's in the paint and there's four guys on him. Tobias Harris had like a lob pass to Asar that was probably the worst lob pass I've ever seen. If you guys remember, Tobias threw a lob pass to Cade, and Cade said it was the best pass he ever seen when he had to do like a freaking reverse finish. Don't need Tobias Harris throwing any more lob passes here because they've been really bad. Um, After JB did take a timeout, Stu and Cade came in. Stu had a block, um, starting to keep his blocks in bounce, which I think was really crucial. Some guys like the block shots and just like get them out of the stands. Stu's starting to find the art form of blocking the shot and keeping it in bounce and keeping the play alive. But Stu had a block, Cade had a block, and it turned into transition buckets. There was a transition three from Levert, and then there was a layup by Stu. But the Hawks did win this quarter by 2 points, 27-25. And the Pistons only shot 38% from the field. This was a very poor shooting night, not only by the Pistons, but the Atlanta Hawks in this one. In the second quarter, we got to talk about Ron Holland in this one. Best game of the season. I think we'll get into the box score with him a little bit later, but it's just hustle points. That's something that I really appreciated from Ron Holland in his rookie year is we know his offensive game is still a work in progress. We know he's still trying to develop a reliable jump shot, but the hustle points, crashing the glass, diving for loose balls, it was all there with Ron Holland tonight. There was still a lot of turnovers trying to push the pace in the second quarter, but both teams did really struggle to shoot. Pistons were fortunate to have a 1 point lead going into halftime, 50-49. Coming out of halftime, Tobias Harris made his only two shots in this game. Last game, Tobias was a flamethrower. This game, he's really struggled to shoot the ball. He had a couple of baskets to, help the Pistons kind of keep a lead. The Hawks decided we're going to play zone for the second half. They're trying to take away the paint from the Pistons, which I could see a lot of teams starting to implement that because the Pistons love to live in the paint. They love going for layups, lobs. And they were basically daring the Pistons to shoot from three. If you look at the three-point shooting numbers for the Pistons, they made 5 out of 26 attempts. So the zone definitely worked. You really missed Duncan Robinson out there, but Started the surge at the end, and they got a little lead to end the third quarter, 74-68. Coming out of the third quarter and starting the fourth, the Hawks were just really packing the paint. They know that's where the Pistons want to live. They know that's where the Pistons get a bulk of their points. But the Pistons did make defensive stops towards the end of this game. And it looked like the Pistons were just going to end it with around a minute and 30 left. But Hawks make back-to-back three-point shots, tied at 95. Kid gets to the mid-range, gets to his spot, and then the very next play, takes the ball up the court. Jalen Duren sets a screen, does a little spin move, and gets by 4 Atlanta Hawks defenders, kisses it off glass. Beautiful layup. So 2 clutch shots for Cade down the stretch. And then probably the last, like, I don't know, 5 seconds. I've never seen officials review a game in recent memory. I think they fouled Dennis Jenkins after he went to the free throw line. There was zero point 0.4 seconds left, so they do that. He goes to the free throw line, and you think the game's over. And then the Hawks get the ball back with 0.1 seconds. They call a timeout. They had to review it to see if there was any time left. There was. They inbound the ball. Luke Kennard throws a prayer up to Jalen Johnson. Gets a tip, hits the rim, but it does not go in. Pistons survive this one. That is 2 wins in a row. Final score was 99-98. Neither team could crack 100 in this one. And it just goes to show you, like, some nights teams just do not have it. We've had half times where the Pistons are scoring 69, 70 points. They only scored 50 at halftime tonight. I mean, you looked at the third quarter score, 74-68. I mean, that's like a throwback, like, final score from like the mid 2000s, man. But like, if you like those type of games, you miss those type of games. Like tonight was one of those games where it was just low scoring. I think the defense by the Pistons in the paint was very non-existent. It felt like a layup line a lot of the times for the Hawks. I don't really know if Jalen Duren is still having a little bit of soreness in his lower leg because he did have a bruise and he missed the game there. I don't know if the Pistons just weren't ready tonight, but I mean, you found a way to win. Ugly win, but hey, man, you'll take it. You improved to 17-4. The rest of the schedule of the week, you have the Bucks. So you're going to Milwaukee, go and see the Bucks. They're struggling right now. When I look, they were up pretty big. They do have Giannis back, so they're trying to make ground, getting back into the Eastern Conference playoff picture. So you got Milwaukee. You come home on Friday against the Portland Trailblazers, who were playing pretty good basketball right now. Ironically, that is George bobblehead night. If you guys go to the game on Friday, they're giving away a custom-made George bobblehead night, but only the first 2,500 fans will get this bobblehead. So get there if you want a George Blaha bobblehead. Apparently, if you press a button, it says "Count that baby in a foul." I'm sure they'll be on eBay for like $200. That's just like how it goes when the Pistons give away something cool like that, right? And then you have, I think, a back-to-back again. After you play the Blazers, you play the Bucks again. So you're playing the Bucks twice, which I think is actually pretty crucial because you want to try to get as much wins as possible against a Central Division rival. You never know when the Bucks are just going to start surging again because before Giannis got hurt, they were a playoff team, an Eastern Conference playoff team. So if you can get them right now when they're struggling, I think down the line as the season goes on, you only have to play them one more time after that. So it'll be interesting to see how the Pistons do respond for the remainder of the games this week. I do see we have a couple of comments and questions in this live chat right now. We are going to go over to the box score and then we'll open up the show to Q&A. You guys kind of know how we do these podcasts by now. We're 21 games in. I don't really think we have too many new people popping on these post-game podcasts, but if we do, welcome. So going into the Tobias Harris, like I mentioned earlier, probably not his best shooting night. 26 minutes in this one, 9 points, 2 out of 14 from the field, 1 out of 5 from 3, perfect from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers. He was a negative 16 in the plus minus tonight. It's kind of funny because the game before he was like 10 out of 12 and 26 points. It's just kind of the Bias Harris experience sometimes. He'll kind of have stinkers like this. I think he made only his 2 baskets in the third, late when the Pistons really needed it, when the Hawks were kind of close and it was a back and forth game. Jalen Duren in this one had 32 minutes, 21 points, 9 out of 12 from the field, 3 out of 4 from the free throw line, 11 rebounds, 3 turnovers, no steals, no blocks. He was a +3 in this one. This defensively, I felt like Onyeka Okongwu was kind of giving him a little bit of trouble because he can stretch the floor. He's got a nice little floater game. Because you look at the box score, you're like, well, why are you tripping, Anthony? He had 21 and 11 tonight and was pretty good from the free throw line. I think it's just defensively. I didn't like how often the Hawks were getting into the paint and just scoring at will. It was stretches in that game. Cade Cunningham in this one, 38 minutes, stuffed the stat sheet again. Another high minute game by Cade. 18 points, 7 out of 15 from the field, perfect from the free throw line. Attempted 4 threes, missed all of them. 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 6 turnovers, 6 steals, 3 blocks. He was a +6 in this one. We've really got to get these turnovers down. Obviously, not having Duncan out there was probably the main reason why he did have 6 turnovers, but it's starting to become a theme, having these high turnover nights. But I think this is a thing where it can get fixed. It's just a lot of these turnovers, you go to look, it's like pushing the pace and transition, and the play's just not there anymore. It just had to be a little bit more smarter with the basketball, because a game like tonight, and you have 20 plus turnovers again, it's starting to become a theme, and that's not a theme you really want to be consistent at, of having 20 plus turnovers, because there will be a team that does capitalize on your turnovers. Atlanta just couldn't capitalize on the Pistons turnovers tonight. Sar Thompson, 30 minutes in this one, 8 points, 3 out of 4 from the field, perfect from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. He was a -6 in this one. Kind of did his thing, just playing defense, crashing the glass, scoring occasionally. Nothing crazy. Dennis Jenkins in the start in 27 minutes, 6 points. Not his best shooting night. 3 out of 16 from the field, 0 from 8 from 3, 0 out of 2 from the free throw line. Had 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 turnovers. Was a -9 in the box score. I think a lot of people will look at the 3 for 16. I think some shots just didn't go in. I thought they were a good process. He did make a pretty crucial bucket in the fourth. But, I mean, this is probably his one game just from a shooting perspective and a talking point where it just wasn't the best game for him. But he still found other ways to be productive. And, you got to give it to him. I mean, having 8 rebounds and 6 assists, coming up big. He'll take it. He'll take it, especially with Duncan being out of the lineup tonight. Stu, in 25 minutes off the bench, had 6 points, 3 out of 4 from the field, 10 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 5 blocks in this one for Isaiah Stewart. Felt like he could have had more, man. Like, it seems like every time I was looking, he was just blocking shots. He's just doing his thing. I mean, to have a guy off your bench routinely get you anywhere from 2 to 5 blocks a night, I think is so valuable. Ryan Holland, I would say the second most important player tonight outside of Cade Cunningham, had his best offensive night, best game of the season. In 17 minutes in this one, you guys had 17 points, 6 out of 8 from the field, 1 out of 2 from 3, 4 out of 4 from the free throw line. He was perfect. Also grabbed 6 rebounds, had 2 steals in this one. Was neutral. Didn't have a negative plus minus in this one. And he did say during halftime with a FanDuel reporter during his interview that, he talked to his trainer. He talked to the coaching staff. And, I think they noticed a little bit of the sophomore slump that we've been mentioning. Like, what's going on with Ryan? He's not having those same hustle points as he had last year. I think it was just a thing where he had to get back to what he was doing last season. I think sometimes it's really easy for players to just get caught up in the game because the game is so fast. They happen in like 2 hours, and that 2 hours can go by really fast when you only get in like 15 to 17 minutes, like around Holland. But I think he's starting to figure out like he can still impact the game, being that glue guy, being that energy guy. And I mean, there are multiple possessions tonight where there are like 4 or 5 Atlanta Hawks going for a rebound, and he's out hustling them, getting to the basket, just being such a positive off this bench. And anytime you get double scoring figures from Ron Holland off your bench, I think you're in pretty good position to win that basketball game. So I'm happy for Ron. In the last game, he had 6 points. Tonight, he had 17 points. So he's starting to figure out of scoring the basketball a little bit more. And you love to see it for Ron Holland. Javonte Green played 6 minutes in this one, grabbed the rebound. Didn't really do anything. He was a +6 in this one. Karis LeVert had a very big game, I would say. 25 minutes tonight. 14 points, 5 out of 9 from 3, 3 out of 4 from 3, 1 out of 4 from the free throw line. Got to get better at those free throws, especially down the stretch. Probably could have closed this game out if you would have made a couple more of his free throws. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 2 blocks, +10 in this one. I know I'm kind of nitpicking with the free throws, but he's usually a pretty good free throw shooter. So I was kind of surprised that he kind of clanked those. Jaden Ivey obviously is still in a minute restriction. 14 points, didn't score, an 0-4. 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, had 1 assist in this one, was a +7, had 1 foul. I talked about it yesterday with Zarek, if you guys did catch our podcast on Sunday. It's really weird to have Karis and Jaden Ivey on the court together. And it just seems like they both play so similar, and they both like getting to the same spots where it's an adjustment period, I think, for him. I think when he did have a better game last game against the Heat, when Karras wasn't available and Danis was running the second unit and Ivy was playing off ball, he seemed a little bit more comfortable. But I think it's just a learning thing with him. Obviously, he's still on a minute restriction, and of course, scrolling on the timeline, I know how Pistons fans are. The anti-Ivy crowd that just want him out of here. They want him gone. Like, I don't know, man. You want him gone. You want all this value for him, but you trash him. I don't understand Pistons fans sometimes. I get, high lottery pick, probably does want to get paid, this summer. It's not going to get the max, but you could probably get him at a pretty decent deal, I think. I don't think you're going to have to break the bank to extend Jaden Ivey. I just don't. If you look at the team stats in this one, this is probably the most wild box score you can look at, right? So both teams shot terribly. Pistons shot 44%, Hawks shot 43%. From 3, Pistons shot 19%, 5 out of 26 from 3. The Hawks shot 35%, 4 out of 40 from 3. Pistons got to the free throw line quite a bit. Shot 75%. Hawks shot 73% respectively. I've never seen a game where the rebound margin was so big and it's only a 1-point game. We had 60 rebounds. The Hawks had 34. That's insane to me. They had more assists than we did. They had 27 to our 18. They had more steals. They had 15 steals. We had 11 steals. The turnovers, man. We had 23 turnovers. Hawks had 15 respectively, but we got to get these turnovers down. You cannot keep having 20 turnover games and expecting to win. Points in the paint, obviously, we won that battle 58-42. But, man, our fast break points, I'm sorry. These ESPN box scores just mess me up. So, fast break points. Oh, no, I read it right. Points in the paint, 58-42. Fast break points, we won that one, 21-13. Sometimes they're just not spaced enough for me when I'm reading these box scores for you guys, and I kind of mess up a little bit. But let's get into questions, Q&A, open up the show, open forum for you guys, and then we'll kind of just end this game. And, I'm just really exhausted, if you guys can tell. I think this is my 6th podcast in 6 days. So, I've been grinding. Went on a podcast this afternoon with somebody else. Um, and it was a lot of fun. We kind of talked about the Utah Jazz, ironically, and talked about Laurie Markkinen, but um, I think that podcast should be out in a couple of weeks. But should be a fun conversation if you guys do want to listen to that. I do see Zach talking about Asar. So they took 2 steals away from Asar tonight, which is nuts. They've totally taken the ball out of his hands since returning from injury and giving it to other guards. I have noticed that a little bit. I know at the start of the season they were kind of experimenting with that point Asar, and it seems like they're kind of taking like less responsibility away from him in a sense where it's just like we want you to defend, we want you to bring the ball up the court, occasionally, but mostly it's been Cade Cunningham. A little bit of Jalen Duren, which I'm kind of like, I don't mind if a center wants to bring the ball up the court, but sometimes when Jalen brings the ball up the court and goes coast to coast, I was like, please don't turn it over. Just please pass it. If you make it, cool. I'm probably going crazy, but it just gives me PTSD to the Andre Drummond days when he used to bring the ball up the court. It really does. If you guys remember, like Andre Drummond used to try to play point during it. This used to be a turnover. Go to Jay Hart talking about this win by any means. Damn it! But for Christ's sake, the damn turnovers, clean that shit up, please. But Cade's mid range and reverse stagger is what will make you the face of Detroit. Seize the moment. Wasn't a pretty win, man. It wasn't. The turnovers, I think, are starting to become a common theme, and we don't want them to be. I felt like they did such a good job very early on, even during the winning streak. Like they were taking care of the basketball. Like, turnovers weren't really a talking point, but they have been a talking point over the past couple of games. I feel like the last 3 to 4 games, like we've had high turnover games. And I think it's because we're starting to try to push the pace more. We're trying to play more fast in transition. And we're just making really careless passes. Like we want to play fast. We're trying to get up and down the court, but like we're not really paying attention to where our guys are at. Like there was a pass tonight where it's just like I get you want to, run, you're trying to get advantage, but it's just like it was nowhere even near Cade. And Cade's just like, oh, I didn't even see that shit. But I think they'll clean it up. I know last year around this time they were trying to play fast, they were trying to figure out the turnover issue, but I think they're still trying to iron out a lot of things. I don't really think you can really take too much data from this team until like you're around the 30 game mark. And that's the type of team that we have. We just don't want to, kind of get back into bad habits of turning the ball over. Um, Incel says he likes Jalen Johnson for Jaden Ivey and 2 first. Yeah, man, it would probably take way more than Jaden Ivey and 2 first for Jalen Johnson. It's probably taken like 4 first, a SAR, and more players. Like Jalen Johnson is a very good player. I think when you're looking at the Atlanta Hawks, like a lot of people think of Trae Young, but I wouldn't sleep on Jalen Johnson. He's a really good player. He's a point forward, much like Cade Cunningham, head of the snake over there for Atlanta. There's no way that Atlanta would trade him. Given like the contract he's on as well, like I remember a lot of fans were crashing out when they gave him that contract. He signed a 5-year, $150 million extension, rookie extension deal, and that deal's looking really good, man. $30 million a year for a player of his productivity, like that's a good deal. That's a really good deal for a Jalen Johnson. Piston fan 11 does have a question. So, does the timeout get granted when the ref signals or when the Hawks signal a timeout? Because it looked like the ref signaled after the backboard went red at the buzzer. So, when the timeout official to stop the check. So, I think he's referring to late clock. I think it might have been a rebound or a missed free throw. If I do remember, I think it was a missed free throw, and they called a timeout, but the shot clock said that there was no time left. Could have just been a shot clock thing, and the ref did award them the timeout. Um, you know, 9 times out of 10, the official um will award the team a timeout and actually see if there was enough time. They'll go to the reviewer table and see if there's enough time for them to actually call a timeout. Because you saw it when there was zero point 0.4 seconds when we thought the game was over, and then 0.1 seconds. So it was just a thing where the official went to the score table to see if there was enough time to reward them a timeout. So I think that's what happened. I don't really think it was a thing where the official just said, I'm just going to reward you a timeout. He actually had to go check to see if there was enough time. Um, G Stu says Cade's layup on the 4 Hawks to make it a 4-point play or 4-point game late was a thing of beauty. Yeah, that was like initially when he brought the ball up the court, he was just kind of waving it off because I think he knew he wanted to take over. I think he knew he wanted to get something. I don't know if he knew he was going to get such a beautiful layup, getting by 4 Atlanta Hawks players and the way he scored it and then kind of smiled it off after. I mean, that was pretty, man. Like that's probably going to be on like NBA top 10 plays, ESPN top 10 plays tonight because that was not only like a great play, but considering like how much time was left in the game, like that was just like clutch play. And you're starting to see why Cade Cunningham leads the NBA in fourth quarter points. Like it's honestly insane what he does in the fourth quarter. Rocky says, I'm glad it's only the start of December. I hope this team is way better with taking care of the ball at the end of the season. But in the meantime, I'll take 17-4. Yeah, I mean, if you kind of just look at where this team was last year, they really didn't start playing their best basketball until like January and February, and they were coming into games. They were winning first quarters. They were taking care of the basketball. They were blowing teams out. Like I remember the Chicago game. I remember the Pelicans game, the Philly game. Like they obviously have flaws as a team and they can kind of iron out a lot of the mistakes that they're making right now. I don't really take away any wins that they've had where it's a concern. I think a lot of things are fixable, but they haven't really tried to push the pace as much tonight as they have in the first 20 games of the season. Like that was kind of a strength of theirs. Like obviously they've tried to push the pace this year, but a lot of teams have been, forcing them to play out of the half court, and then that's where a lot of the points in the paint do happen with this team. Obviously, this is not the same 3-point shooting team as it was last year. It's actually far worse. We're not the same 3-point shooting team at all. I mean, you really saw it tonight without a Duncan Robinson, like how much of a hub he is with this team offensively. But hopefully he, can come back. Hopefully the ankle sprain isn't too serious. I swear this team just needs to invest in ankle braces. I know Jalen Duren still has his ankle brace on, but this whole team needs to wear ankle braces. If I see one more ankle sprain on an injury report for the Pistons this year, I'm going to snap. I really am. We do have a comment from Mo Wiz saying the fact that they can pull off a win despite poor shooting performance, but lean on defense is a credit to this team's will and effort. And I think that's kind of their identity too, right? They pride themselves on defense. They pride themselves on, finishing out games, dominating the paint, out rebounding teams. And, you probably don't win this game if you're not aggressive on the glass. You probably don't win this game if you don't turn up defensively. But I honestly think like when you look at this team, like defense is going to be their calling card personally. And that's something with a lot of JB Bickerstaff led teams is they're going to be good defensively. I think that's a big reason why he did get hired by Trajan and the Pistons is they know that they have a lot of guys that could just get in the mud, play dirty, play this gritty defense. And I think he saw it tonight multiple times towards the end of the third quarter when they started surging and end of the fourth quarter when they started surging as well. So I honestly think it'll be interesting. I want to ask you something. Who do you think we will draft in 26? Man, I haven't even got into any type of drafting stuff. And it's probably because we're winning so much. I don't even know if we're going to keep our pick this year. Um, but assuming they do it, I haven't even looked at prospects. I'll be fully transparent with you. I don't really look into prospects until the season's over, and then I can kind of have a deep dive and have off-season content for you guys. But I don't even know if the Pistons are going to keep their 26th pick this year. I mean, who knows what to do with the trading deadline? Maybe they could, make a marginal move. Maybe they make a splash. Who knows? I think you hear a lot of different things when you listen to other people in the sports media landscape across the NBA. There's some people that think that they'll make a marginal move to upgrade the roster. There's other people that think that they might make a big splash since the East is wide open and they're the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. But it's definitely interesting, and I just haven't gotten in the drafts probably in about 2 years. It's been pretty nice. Sean Don 313, Jalen Johnson is off limits. He's arguably their best player. Yeah, exactly. Like, they're not gonna trade Jalen Johnson. I know someone had asked, like, go trade for him. You're not gonna get Jalen Johnson from Atlanta. You'd probably have a better shot of getting Trae Young right now than you would Jalen Johnson. And that just kind of says how much like Atlanta values Jalen Johnson right now. Like, Trae Young's a good player, but I mean, the way that they're playing right now and still kind of having sustainable success, winning games, being a top seeded team in the East, like, I don't really think that you're going to get a Jalen Johnson away from Atlanta unless you're just offering the farm for him. And I doubt that you're going to get him at all. I did see a question that I'm trying to scroll back up. It was about Ron Holland. So let's see. Let me try to find it. This is terrible podcasting, by the way. I do apologize. Um, I think it was a question about Ron getting more minutes. Um, I'm not really sure, especially with this rotation. Like, I don't envy JB Bickerstaff whatsoever. Um, I think Ron will still routinely get around 20 minutes a night. I think it's just a thing right now where he's starting to, score more offensively, and we love that for Ron Holland. But I don't think it's a point where he's going to push a star out of the starting lineup. I think that's what the question was asked. I think it's a good combination of having a start and Ron come off your bench. I think it's a good thing to have. It's a luxury to have, and I don't really think there's any, pressure to start Ron right now. I know there's been situations where Ron and Asar have been on the court together when you do need defense, but I think the combinations they have in the rotation right now is great. But I don't really think there's a situation where you really need to start him right now. Zach has a comment, even being on the wing or at the top of the key, which allows him to attack. Sticking him in the corner really just nerfs his impact. That's the Stanley Johnson treatment, Zach. I know a lot of Pistons fans used to get pissed off at Stan Van Gundy kind of just throwing him in the corner for like spacing purposes, but I don't know why JB kind of went away from that. It could be, a coincidence. It could be by design why they're not letting Asar be more aggressive, bring the ball up the court. Not really sure. Maybe he's trying to integrate just more players being healthy. But it's definitely interesting. Maybe a reporter could ask him why he's not bringing the ball up the court and why he's not kind of playing like a point Asar, but. I thought last season when they let him kind of experiment of being a secondary or even a third ball handler for this team, I think it gave them a different dynamic, and a lot of teams didn't really know how to game plan for it because he's just so damn fast and strong. But I guess it's a good problem to have when you do have multiple ball handlers, but it'll be interesting to see like what does happen, long term with the starting lineup. Can Ron make a floater? Yeah, I mean, the one thing with Ron Piston Fan 11, he's really good around the basket. He's really great finishing in space. He's really good. Some of the makes he does have around the basket. I have to rewind it sometimes because I don't believe that, it goes in. But yeah, Ron does have a floater game. He's still developing, mid-range. He's still developing a three-point shot, which I think his three-point shot is actually closer to being, at least somewhat reliable than a lot of Pistons fans even realize. I've always felt like his shot wasn't broken. It just needed a little bit more of redefinement, and I think you see the work that Fred Vincent does spend with him. But I'm probably going to wrap this podcast up. Like I mentioned, you guys, I think I've done 6 podcasts in 6 days straight up. I am so exhausted. We'll see you guys a couple of times this week. We'll see you on Wednesday for the Milwaukee Bucks post-game show, and then Friday and Saturday for the Portland Trailblazers post-game show and the Milwaukee Bucks again post-game show. But hope you guys have a great rest of your week, great rest of your night. Again, the Pistons win this one 99-98. Getting a little streak going again. That's 2 in a row, 17-4. First place in the Eastern Conference. Feels good. Feels good doing these post-game podcasts with you guys when I get the opportunity to do so. But see you later. Take care. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.